Senate Bill 261 would change other aspects of the program, including how medical marijuana is regulated. It would also add more dispensaries. I'm Angela Ann.
And I'm Daniel Barnett on the Ohio News Network.
Calls and conversations continue in less than 3 minutes as the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues after this.
The Watchdog Network wants you to take time for yourself and your family this holiday season and enjoy some of the events around our valley. Buy local and escape the hustle and bustle of retail holiday shopping by visiting Ogilvy Institute's Holiday Art Show and Sale. They're open through December 23rd at the Stifel Fine Arts Center and at the Schrader Center in Ogilvy. Happy holidays from the Watchdog.
Soft teeth run in my family, so I don't need to go to the dentist because it won't help, right?
Actually, your family history does not necessarily determine whether you'll get cavities or develop gum disease. Your own behavior can prevent dental disease. By regularly seeing a dentist and brushing twice a day, flossing once a day, and avoiding tobacco products and sugary foods and drinks, you can put yourself on the right path to having healthy teeth and gums for a lifetime.
To find an Ohio Dental Association member dentist in your area, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
We're a farm store, a family store, a look what I found store. We're a store made for real people and some real beasts. We're a hey neighbor kind of store and an everyday low price store. We're Rural King and we're working hard to be your favorite store.
Need a little wow factor for someone special? Ariat Rebar Durastretch Riveter jeans make a great looking, great fitting gift starting at $59.95.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the Watchdog trusts.
Highland Sports Complex is the coolest destination for sports and entertainment the Ohio Valley has ever seen. Pop in for some open basketball in our field house or reserve some turf time for your next practice or game on our synthetic fields. Online registration is open for development classes and leagues for youth and adults. Highland Sports is also the hottest destination for birthday parties and other events. So come challenge yourself on our play climb and enjoy your favorite virtual reality game in the arcade. No memberships required, so visit highlandsports.com to find your next entertainment experience and get ready to reach new heights.
Washington County's largest gun show is back on Saturday and Sunday, January 8th and 9th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Washington County Fairgrounds. Admission is only $7 and kids under 12 get in free with an adult. Everyone is welcome. They offer free appraisals and great prices on all types of firearms, modern, military, and antique. Oh, by the way, they also have a great assortment of knives. They have over 450 tables with cash buyers on site for your used guns. Visit arhsportshop.com or give them a call at 724-948-3571. Once again, that's 724-948-3571 for more information. The Washington County Gun Show, presented by ARH Sports Shop, January 8th and 9th.
Hello, everyone, from the Watchdog. I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your Thursday. Mostly cloudy with a few showers on and off through the day, a high near 62. Those showers continue through the overnight with a low of about 34. You'll see mostly cloudy skies around for your Friday, with highs in the low to mid-50s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
This is a great conversation for the holidays or any time of year. You're listening to the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
Said earlier, I feel like Rip Van Winkle. Did I sleep through winter and it's springtime already? 57 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 57 degrees here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. And 57 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Aaron Myler told us earlier this morning it was 60 dropping down a little bit. We're going to hit probably a record high for the day today. Predicted going up to 64 degrees today. Mixture of sun and clouds, windy, fairly windy during the day today. Some showers coming in late tonight. But man, it's a spring-like forecast, and we are 8 days, 15 hours, and some odd minutes away from Christmas on our countdown to Christmas. Where have we been and where are we going today? Well, we're still talking about Brother Biff and his decorations at his house. And he now does have a little Christmas tree, and he has a little wreath, and so he's going to get a nativity. So from the barren, Christmasless house that he had yesterday, he at least is perking up a little bit. So that's good. All of you have been offering some thoughts and suggestions via text and email, and I appreciate it. I'm sure Biff, even though he's grumbling about it, I think he appreciates your concern for him as well, that he gets in the Christmas spirit. And we've been talking about Christmas music. I think Biff ought to start thinking about getting some Christmas music piped into his house, but I don't know, that may be pushing it a little bit too much. We are going to talk about some of the Christmas songs from hell coming up a little bit later on. Some of the Christmas songs that have been popular, well, maybe not popular, but that have been played on radio over the years that are just really, really bad. And then we got a ridiculous text from a listener, I'm sure is a MAGA guy, and it said, Santa is fake. I don't know why anybody would say that. I know Santa is real. I've seen Santa. Biff, I know that you've seen Santa. We see him at the parade. We see him at the mall. I've talked to Santa. He's going to be calling our studios every night next week, Letters to Santa Claus, every night next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 5 o'clock, Biff? 5 o'clock for Letters to Santa? 5, right?
I believe so.
I think it's at 5 o'clock where he'll be reading Letters to Santa, so I know. And our good friend from the Big 7, WTRF TV, DK Wright, sent me a picture this morning of her with, guess who she's standing right next to and shaking his hand, Biffy?
I'm going to guess Santa.
It is Santa Claus, absolutely right. DK says, I know him personally. He's as real as it gets. So, I don't know why somebody would have texted me that. It's just unbelievable. Anyways, we've been mainly talking about Christmas and holidays and fun stuff this morning. We do have a couple of serious things to get to. In a minute or two, Hoppy Kirchner will join us to talk about whether or not there may or may not be discussion of pay raises in the legislature this session. We're going to talk to West Virginia's Professor of the Year, who is from the English department at West Liberty University. He's coming up a bit later on this morning. The Morning Intel shares some reactions to that displacement of the 18th Street homeless camp yesterday. And apparently the police didn't go in and actually move out those who were left. There's some question of, did somehow they create an extension, or did the police just say, we're not, I don't know. I'll tell you what the intel is telling us coming up a little bit later on. Despite what were called productive conversations between Senator Manchin and President Biden this week, reports this morning are that Manchin is still very far apart from Biden's Build Back Better bill, and that Build Back Better bill could be seriously delayed, if not derailed. And on the fun stuff again, how long is too long to wait for your food? I've got a survey for you. And who's your favorite Christmas movie character? All of this coming up here on the Watchdog Morning Show on a Thursday morning as we count down to... Oh, and I'm going to give a chance for you to win some tickets to Christmas in the Valley, a concert at the Capitol Theater in downtown Wheeling on Sunday. It's a fundraising event for Augusta Levy. So buy tickets and go and see a good concert, but also help out Augusta Levy. But we'll give you a chance to go for free with some tickets coming up a bit later on this morning. All right, let's welcome to the show from Statewide Talk Line. It's the Dean of Journalism in West Virginia. I read that somewhere. I don't know. Hoppy Kirchner. Good morning, Hop.
I'm not. There's a frequent debate on Talk Line when if I do something, then there's a text that says, well, you're not a real journalist. And somebody said, if a real journalist would do this. And I say, I'm not. I'm a talk show host. I'm just a lowly talk show host. I'm not.
Yep. The distinction between opinion people and journalists, I mean, the line is thin. I think, you and I both come out of a journalist background. We both are reporters before talk show hosts. And I still try to be moderately objective, and I try to get to the facts and all that kind of stuff. But, but we're opinion people. That's our
I mean, you're a talk show host. And there are times, like I said the other day, I'm sure in your interviews there are times where you're doing an interview and it's really pretty newsy. It's pretty straightforward. What's the story here? Other times you're bloviating. I'm sorry, opining. So it's
very seldom will I be fighting with an interviewer, but if you heard the interview with Alex Mooney a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, you guys got into it?
It got a little contentious. Biff, would you say that's true? It got contentious, Alex Mooney and I?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, it got.
Oh, really?
A little contentious.
That's going to be a race. That's going to be something. I mean, it's already on.
The ads that Mooney is running right now up in this area, and I guess they're on TV up here, and they're on the internet too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are nasty ads. I mean, they are the typical kind of ads that you see late in the campaign with Dave McKinley's face distorted and slowed down and looking ugly, and just every third word is slamming Dave McKinley for being a rhino, for being a liberal, for being everything.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a nasty ad.
Yeah, that's. I think that's to be expected, and I would imagine McKinley's going to respond in kind. I mean, McKinley will, and Mooney has fired the first salvo on McKinley, quote unquote, a rhino because he supported the infrastructure bill, and that really is, he's in first on that. McKinley has got to get his feet under him on that and say, this is a bill I supported because, and talk about the money and the projects that are going to come to the district. So he has some ground to make up there because Mooney's firing the first salvos. But then again, if it's going to go this way, look for McKinley to raise the ethics issue on Mooney.
Right.
So it's on.
Yeah.
It's on.
6 weeks ago, at some point before the infrastructure vote, I was probably giving, I think you and I may have talked about this, I was probably giving a slight nod to McKinley. The district is made up of more of his old district than of Mooney, so he's got kind of that geographic advantage to begin with, and I just thought, and he's been in office, I think, longer than Mooney, so I just thought McKinley would have had the edge. But after that vote and after the Trump endorsement of Mooney, this is going to be a barn burner.
It really is, and there are these other factors, not other factors, but factors including, but not limited to, that it's a primary, so you're going to get essentially the base of the Republican Party, right? And you would think there's a lot of Trump supporters there, certainly. But on the other side, every county but one, which I think is Gilmer, every county but one, now represented by McKinley in what is soon to be the old 1st District, is in the new 2nd District. You follow me?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So there's a geographic advantage. But obviously Mooney's coming to Wheeling to try, because he has to make up ground there, and McKinley's already gone to the Eastern Panhandle because he's not as well known there. So, yeah, it's going to be a race.
I'm going to be curious. McKinley has not had a serious challenge almost since he was elected the first time, maybe the time after that. I mean, he really has not had a serious challenger.
But certainly not in the primary.
It's going to be what's that? Oh, not in the primary, but not even in the general election.
Right.
And I say that with the fact that my daughter-in-law ran against him last time, but still, it was not really.
That's your daughter-in-law?
Yeah, that was my daughter-in-law. Yes.
Oh, I didn't
still
know
is my
that.
daughter-in-law. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
I did not know that.
Which is why I didn't cover that race. We did not talk about it on the show because there was a personal connection there.
Oh, okay.
But
I didn't know that.
He's never had I don't think ever a serious challenge. He's had little challenge, but nothing that's just really been. So this is the first. He's going to have to step up to a different level than he's had to for the last several years too. He being McKinley.
Yeah.
I mean, as a talk show host, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's going to be an interesting race.
Yeah, me too. And it's interesting, Howard, how politics have changed in West Virginia because, and you've been around a while, you remember when the primary was the big race was the big election in West Virginia among Democrats, right? Because Democrats outnumbered Republicans 2-1, so the race was in the primary. Whoever won then was going to have an easy time in the general because Republicans were severely diminished. Well, that's flipped now. And now we're seeing races in the primary on the Republican side. And once a candidate wins, I mean, I would think, and things can change, I would think whoever wins McKinley or Mooney will have a pretty easy time in the general.
Well, I would think so, certainly by the makeup of our state being very Republican and Trumpish. But also, I'm not aware of any serious Democrat challenger out there right now. I mean, I haven't heard any rumor, any talk about anybody that I think would be of stature to make a serious fight. Not saying that won't happen. I'm just saying at this moment I haven't heard. Have you?
No, but somebody, I mean, it will either be somebody who, I mean, there will be three levels, potential levels. One is somebody who just has no chance. I'm sorry, but just won't. Somebody who is a progressive, because the progressives are trying to make inroads, and, you know, somebody who is smart and is going to run a grassroots campaign, won't have a lot of money, won't have any national support because the National Party's given up, Democratic Party's given up on West Virginia, but will not have a very good chance of winning, probably get one debate. Or some Democrat who happens to have boatloads of money, who convinces the National Democratic Party they have a chance and makes a real campaign. So it'll be one of those three.
I would concur with that, but I'm not aware, and maybe you hear, not maybe, you do hear more than I do. I don't hear any rumblings of anybody in that third category that could come forth.
I haven't yet, but just because you haven't, I haven't, doesn't mean there's not somebody there thinking about it, but I haven't yet. But,
yeah, well, I
and there's time.
Somebody could, but it's
well,
which is also interesting. I mean, we haven't even got to election filing season yet.
I know.
and this race is already, you know, just on. It's. But I would have given the edge to McKinley earlier.
I still would. I still would because of the geographic advantage. Okay, Mooney has to geographically get votes in two areas where he hasn't, run. North Central West Virginia, Morgantown and Wheeling. And McKinley has got to do something in Martinsburg. So that is geographically a 2-to-1 advantage for McKinley, I think. But then Mooney has an advantage because he has more money and can raise more money. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know.
And he has the Trump endorsement, which carries a lot of weight in this state.
Oh, huge.
So I mean, I thought it was. I won't say a walk away, but I thought it was pretty much a McKinley win. But now I think it's going to be a real serious race, and we'll just have to wait and see, how it plays out. McKinley needs to get aggressive. He has, in my mind, two things McKinley's got to do: one positive, one negative. McKinley has got to clearly explain the benefits of the infrastructure bill to the people of West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he can do that, and he did it on this show a few weeks ago, and he's done it on your show. And I mean, he gets it. He understands the value of that bill to West Virginia, broadband, roads, bridges, et cetera. But he's got to really work hard at getting that message over top of the Rhino message. And quite frankly, McKinley is going to have to be willing to go, I think, negative on the ethics issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's going to have to really play that up hard.
Yeah. And McKinley already mentioned it on my show. He kind of dropped it in, probably has on yours as well. The Maryland deal, that Mooney moved here from Maryland, and in West Virginia were pretty parochial, and just, hit that. I don't think that's as big a deal in the Eastern Panhandle where there's more people moving in and out. But in parts of West Virginia, it means something. People are like, well, you're not from here.
It's very sly, I don't know what the roads are like in Maryland, but very, 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 very.
Actually, the roads are pretty good in Maryland. If you've been to Maryland, I mean, their taxes are higher, but the roads are better.
Listen, when my kids lived in Frederick, Maryland, and we were going over there almost every week to visit, you could tell when you crossed the state line just by the condition of the roads. I mean, you could tell when you crossed the state line without even seeing a sign. That's for sure. Hoppy, I wanted to talk to you briefly. It's going to be briefly now, at 8:25 in the morning. I want to talk to you about pay raises for teachers and state employees in West Virginia. I heard the governor on your show a couple of weeks ago. I think you asked the question, and he gave sort of the generic answer, oh, yes, I'm in favor of the idea of a pay raise. But I felt if you had listened to his entire response, he really hedged his bet when he talked to you. I mean, the headline came out was Justice supports pay raises. I'm not sure that was really what he said. He said, well, I'll consider it. But you're hearing other people in the legislature also saying pay raises could be coming up this year. Is that right?
That's correct. A couple of things. That teachers and service workers and state workers have not had a raise for 2 years. The last one was passed in 2019, so that was in effect until the end of June 2020. So by June 2022, it will have been 2 years that they have not had a pay raise. And in that time, we've seen inflation, of course. That's a big story now. And so teachers and public employees losing ground. Senate President Craig Blair has indicated to me that he is supportive of a pay raise, but he didn't want to say too much about it because they're still trying to piece it together. I haven't talked to House Speaker Roger Hanshaw about it. The governor said, as you indicated on Talkline, he said, what did his quote is, we'll absolutely look at it, and from my standpoint, I'll be a proponent, Justice said. However, Howard, so you get this vibe that there is this lean toward a pay raise, which is certainly due, I think, for public employees and teachers. However, there are conflicting desires, because also Republicans say they want to hold the line on the budget. They don't want the budget to grow anymore, and that they want to lower the income tax, maybe go back to this plan by the governor to phase out the income tax. Well, now, can you do all those things? That would be really, really hard to do. Mix in there the fact the governor says we got a $269 million surplus so far, and he expects the surplus to grow, but that is one-time money, and a pay raise would come to the baseline of the budget. A 5% pay raise would cost, across the board, would cost something like, an average of 5%, would cost something like $120 to $120 million a year that would come to the base of the budget. So, in short, yes, there is some sentiment among legislative leaders and the governor, I believe, for a pay raise for school teachers and public employees, but it's very much in the discussion stages.
But I was surprised to read your piece earlier this week that it was more than just the governor, because I really, honestly, I thought the governor was just, I don't say spouting off, I don't mean that so critically, but I thought he was just responding to what you said, but I really do think he qualified his support for that by saying, but on the other hand, we don't want to grow government, have to watch our money and so on.
He did. He did hedge. You know, Howard, we have to, and I'm starting to sound like you here, but I mean, we have to do something here. I mean, we have hundreds of teacher vacancies. We can't get school bus drivers. Public education is critically important, and the average starting salary for a professional educator in West Virginia, a school teacher, is, I had this here, $38,000. Yeah. $38,000, and which is 38. Here we go. According to the NEA, the starting salary for West Virginia teachers is $39,000. That ranked 36th in the nation. However, the average teacher salary overall is just $50,000, which is 48th. So, I'm sorry, you got to get those salaries up there. Just do.
And we're repeating stuff I've talked about over the last number of years. Surrounding states compete much better than that, and therefore a lot of teachers move across the borders to get better. So that's going to have to happen. But there at least is some interest, I guess.
Yeah.
The governor's going to says he has a big announcement today at 10 o'clock. Got any idea what that's going to be?
I think, and we've talked. It could be about a pay raise plan. It could be more likely. It's about how what his plan is for spending $100+ million in COVID money, which has to be allocated before the end of the year. That's probably what it is.
We talked to Brad about that yesterday for a while, and $127 million, I think, is still left unspent, which goes back to the federal government on December 31st if it isn't spent. Spending $127 million in 2 weeks, that's a lot of money to spend.
Is that like Brewster's Millions? Didn't he have to spend
It's exactly what it is. Start to figure out how you spend it. I just hope, we'll find out today at 10, if that's what it is. I just hope the governor actually uses the money to the benefit of the people, and we don't put it back into unemployment funds or back into some kind of a state, effort. I mean, we have a lot of things that could be done. Big push being put on by WVU in particular, but the colleges to maybe get additional mental health money, other kinds of assistance. I'd like to see this maybe be used more directly to help people, but we'll find out if that is the announcement today at 10 o'clock.
If that is
With
the
governor,
announcement,
you never know.
one never knows. With the governor, one's never quite sure, which is you have to tune in. Like my guest yesterday said about Joe Manchin, that you have to follow him constantly because sometimes he says something. So,
just quickly on the Manchin thing, I know you wrote a commentary about this yesterday. You agree with him holding the line on the child care tax credit. Based on an article I just read last night, and I honestly can't remember where it is from. But anyways, it looks like he and Biden had conversations but didn't really get along and didn't really find any common ground. Is that kind of what you're hearing?
Well, I haven't talked to Manchin. I know only what I read and what I hear, and Manchin's been pretty consistent about thinking that continuing the child tax credit at that level, which would be $33,000 per child. I think it's under 6 and $3,600 for those above 6, or vice versa. That is just it's too generous. Over 5 years, it would cost $500 billion, and that there's no work requirement. And Manchin wants a work requirement in there. So clearly, I think it is pretty evident that he and the president are at different places on that. And now it's looking increasingly like the whole issue will be pushed over to next year, and that this child tax credit will probably expire. I mean, the expanded part.
The last checks went out yesterday. I think it had the final payment has gone out, so they don't extend it. The numbers that I hear are that particular program has been extremely beneficial to people in the state. That low and middle income folks have been able to really make a difference because of that.
Well, I understand that. The Grinch here at Christmas time, but do we now? And there is no. You can have no tax liability, and to start out as a tax credit, no tax liability, and still get the check. So now, are we at a point where an individual who makes $75,000 a year, or a couple who makes $150,000 a year with children, simply gets a check every month because you have a child? And I think that creates an expensive entitlement, and I think it's excessive. So
I think it's helpful to
humbug. Yeah, sure. So bring down the cap on it and say, an individual who has an income of $40,000 a year and a couple that has an income of $75,000 a year, if you want to do it, and just make it more directed toward people who are truly low income, rather than.
You really are the Grinch.
Well, my heart grew three sizes that day, Howard.
I mean, just go ahead and say, just say bah humbug, and that's just say bah humbug.
By the way, every time I talk about that, I have this voice in the back of my head that says, it's Christmas, don't you?
Well, at least I'm sure you're in the Christmas spirit. So, unlike Brother Biff, who doesn't have a tree up, I'm sure you've got your tree up at least, right?
No, this has caused a lot of problems for me, Howard, because you busted me yesterday on the tree, statewide. And so I went home and I told my wife, I said, we're in trouble here. Howard has broken the news. We don't have a tree up. And so the debate at the Kirchhoff household rages on. So, and it's just we haven't gotten to it. It's not that we're not in the Christmas spirit. We just haven't gotten to it. So I have the Christmas spirit, more or less.
Just not a Christmas tree.
I think Biff and I'll have to get together and.
I think Brother Biff has received, courtesy of the Watchdog Morning Show family, he has received a little tabletop tree. So you have a tabletop tree
told me
putting
that.
Up, right?
Yeah,
right, Biff? You put up your tabletop tree, right?
Yeah, it was up yesterday. Plugged it in for a couple hours until I had to leave in the evening, and it worked. It was good.
Someone brought you a wreath, so you got a wreath.
Yeah. I'll have you know, in the story of the Grinch, which you just labeled me as you well know, at the end, when the Christmas tree is burned up and the presents are gone, yet the people of Whoville stand around and hold hands and sing, because that is the Christmas of spirit. Not about things, but about the spirit of Christmas. How's that?
Oh, my Lord. Just say bah humbug and be done with it. Hey, it's good talking to you. What's coming up, real quick, what's coming up on Talk Line today?
Well, I think we'll talk some about this. We're going to get an update on Omicron. We're going to find out maybe what the governor has to say today. We'll talk with Marshall football coach Charles Huff. They're in Orlando for their bowl game. That and more coming up on Metro News Talk Line right here on WVOY.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for joining us today. I'll talk to you soon. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And Merry Christmas to you. Hoppy Kercheval Statewide Talk Line host 10:06 this morning and every weekday morning here on the Watchdog. So you're not alone, Biffy. He doesn't have his tree up either. Well, you got one up now. That's good. 8:36, 24 till the hour. Let's check some headlines from the Big Seven. We've got some Mountaineer Report. Tony Caridi's here. And we'll talk to the West Virginia Professor of the Year, who is from West Liberty University. That's coming up on the Watchdog Morning Show.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your local news.
Biff, Stephen, and I guess it's Crinity. You might want to double check this pronunciation of his name coming up next. Crinetti? Okay. Is he on there already? Okay. Crinetti. Okay, very good. I'll take a second break. I'll keep him to 10 or 12 minutes maybe, and then I'll give you time for another break if we need it. Okay.
Virginia Health Right Covenant House and the Ryan White CAMC program have been collaborating on the front lines of Kanawha County's HIV outbreak for some time now. In a new report, they say they expect 130 new HIV cases from injection drug use by the end of the year. We continue to cover the devastation from the tornadoes that touched down almost a week ago. After helping with cleanup efforts, firefighters from the Wheeling Fire Department are now back from Kentucky. The men say the damage was unbelievably shocking, but each person says there was no question they wanted to help. They left Sunday night and returned yesterday. That was a look at your headlines. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Neil Brown says he'll sign a full class of 32 recruits. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Caridi. That story coming up.
You've seen all your favorite celebrities and comedians answer the internet.
And now we are putting you to the test.
Answer the Internet, the card game. It's available at Barstool Sports, Walmart, Amazon, and Spencer Gifts.
Pick up a copy right now and see if you've got what it takes to answer the internet.
Hello. You the new butler? Well, it's been a long time since I've been the new anything.
What's happened to Hudson?
I guess he's changing.
Yeah, he does that a lot, doesn't he? I'm David Bowie. I live down the road.
Oh.
Sir Percival lets me use his piano when he's not around. He's not around, is he?
I can honestly say I haven't seen him, but come on in. Come in. But come on in.
Are you related to Sir Percival?
Well, distantly,
Oh, you're not the poor relation from America, right?
Ha! Gee, news sure travels fast, doesn't it? I'm Bing.
Oh, I'm pleased to meet you. You're the one that sings, right?
Well, right or wrong, I sing either way.
Oh, well, I sing too.
Oh, good. What kind of singing?
Well, mostly the contemporary stuff. Do you like modern music?
Oh, I think it's marvelous. Some of it really fine. But tell me, you ever listen to any of the older fellas?
Oh, yeah, sure. I like John Lennon and the other one with Harry Nilsson.
Ooh, you go back that far, huh?
Oh, yeah, I'm not as young as I look.
None of us is these days.
In fact, I've got a 6-year-old son, and he really gets excited around the Christmas holiday thing.
Do you go in for any of the traditional things in the boy household Christmas time?
Oh, yeah, most of them, really. Presents, tree, decorations, agents sliding down the chimney.
What?
I was just seeing if you're paying attention. Actually, our family do most of the things that other families do. We sing the same songs.
Do you?
I even have a go at White Christmas.
You do, huh?
And this one. This is my son's favorite. Do you know this one?
Oh, I do indeed. It's a lovely thing.
That is today's Mountaineer Report, brought to us by Kroger, the official grocer of WVU Athletics. I'm Tony Caridi on the Mountaineer Sports Network from Learfield.
Are you traveling? Working a little bit too much? Is your fur baby starting to get a little shaggy? Let Dirty Paws be your one-stop shop for all of your pet care needs. Stop in and see us at 202 18th Street or give us a call at 304-639-7754 to schedule your appointments for dog grooming, doggy daycare, and dog boarding today.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gellner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at GellnerLaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Toyotathon is on, making now the best time to reserve one of the all-new additions to the 22 Toyota lineup, like the first ever Corolla Cross, with available all-wheel drive and more space and efficiency than ever, or the all-new redesigned Tundra with uncompromising full-size power. Visit your Toyota dealer today or go online to buyatoyota.com, the official website for deals. But hurry, Toyotathon ends January 3rd. Toyota, let's go places.
Ho, ho, ho! It's the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe. On air, online, on demand, and on video.
A newborn king to see, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. Our finest gifts we bring, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum, rum-pa-pum-pum.
It is 57 degrees Wheeling, Ohio County Airport, 57 here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling, and 57 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Cloudy and windy for the day today, but a really warm temperature. We're looking for a high of 64 degrees, which could well be a record for this day. So, as I said earlier, I feel like Wirt Van Winkle. Did I sleep through the spring? It feels like a spring-like day today. Let me welcome to the show from West Liberty University, Professor Stephen Crinity. Did I get that pronunciation right, Professor?
Yeah, pretty close. It's Crinity with the accent on the middle syllable, but yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Crinity, all right, good to have you here. Now, the reason the professor is here is he was just named the top college professor in West Virginia. So, do you get like a crown or a scepter or some kind of magical powers or something with that? I'm just curious.
Well, I don't think it's magic, but there is a sort of fancy glass vase that they're going to deliver tomorrow.
Listen, it's the holiday season. Everything has magic in it this time of year. But okay, I get your point. It must feel nice though. That's nice to be selected as Professor of the Year, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but this is now the third time that West Liberty has had a faculty member win this award in the last 7 years. So that's really pretty astounding, I think. And I'm really glad. The last two times it was guys from the sciences, and so I'm just really glad to be able to represent the good work that we do over here on the humanities side too.
That's a good point. I remember Zach Laufman won. I can't remember who the other one was, but yeah, you're right. It came from the hard sciences. Now we're over on the softer side of life in English. Tell me what you teach and what are your areas of expertise, maybe not expertise, but your areas of interest. Tell us a bit about what you teach.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my areas, everybody comes out of graduate school with areas of specialty. My areas of specialty are 20th century American literature and American ethnic literature. But in all honesty, in a school the size of West Liberty, it's all hands on deck, and we all kind of do what's asked. So I teach everything from freshmen to seniors, everything from, writing to American Lit to British Lit to whatever it is that's needed.
Do you have some particular style you use, technique you use? Tell me about your classes. Why do students, maybe instead of saying why do they, I better ask the first question. Do the students like you, do you think?
I think so, as far as I can tell.
Okay.
I do generally, I try to do things a little bit differently, and I think in a lot of ways that's what this award was attempting to reward. They talk about rewarding innovation, and I do try to do things a little bit differently. I joke with my students that, anytime I develop a new assignment, I tell them, this one's a world premiere. I don't know how this is going to go. And, when I said that in a class this semester, in fact, a student raised her hand and she said, I think you've said that every time you've given an assignment. So, I try to change things up and do things a little bit differently and not just pull stuff out of the file drawer,
Give me some examples. Just what kind of things do you have the students do that maybe are a little bit different?
Yeah, well, this one's a little bit out there, but literary naturalism.
I like them out there, so that's good. Let's hear the out there.
We'll give that a shot. Yeah, I was teaching a class on literary naturalism, which is actually a kind of scientifically minded, period in literature. And we read an article that talked about how these authors are sometimes kind of experimenting with their characters, if you will. So I actually asked my students to write a lab report in which they described the experiment that an author was doing with, his character, that kind of thing. So just trying to get out of the box a little bit, trying to do things that you don't usually see in an English class.
Do you ever have the students say, "Oh, come on, professor"?
Oh, sure. Listen, if there aren't occasionally times where you're kind of ticking somebody off or bothering somebody or challenging somebody, then you're probably not doing it right.
What is your goal with your students? I mean, do you want them to be? Is it just a question of being historically literate in the issues you're teaching, or what do you want your students to leave your classes knowing or being?
Wow, that's a tough one. Honestly, I just think that I want my students to leave perceiving the world differently than they did when they come in. So our students, we gather a lot of students from the Upper Ohio Valley, and we know that the Upper Ohio Valley is maybe not as diverse as some other parts of the country, and so literature is a great way for our students to encounter differences and different people and different ways of thinking and different ways of looking at the world. So, maybe that would be my answer there. I would want them to leave my class sort of maybe seeing the world just a little differently than they did when they came in.
And you feel you've accomplished that? You are accomplishing that?
I certainly hope so. That's always the goal, and I think. I happened to see a student say a thing like that on social media when she saw the announcement about this award. So at least there's one piece of evidence that it's working.
How does Professor of the Year come about? Do you apply for that, or does somebody recommend you for that, or how does that come about?
Yeah, so the process starts with a nomination from somebody at your school. And so Dr. Sylvia Senefton of the Social Work Department nominated me, and Dr. Jeremy Lawrence supported that nomination out of the administration. And so you get the nomination. They inform you that you've been nominated. Then you got to fill out a whole packet where you basically lay out all of.
Wait a minute, you got support from the comic book guy? I don't know. Is that really good support or not?
A social worker and a comic book guy. Yeah, those were my nominators.
Okay.
And so, once they nominate you, you put the packet out there where you kind of lay out all the things that you do and the kind of, career path. And then there's an interview. So we did the interview back in, I think, February, where they just, there's a panel of folks who grill you, and then they base it on, I guess, the packets, the nomination letter, the interview, and all the rest.
So what kind of things do they ask you in your interview that I'm not asking you? They have a different approach, I guess. How did they probe you? What were they looking for a Professor of the Year?
That's a great question, because if somebody were to ask me what I did in that interview to earn this, I'm not sure I could pinpoint it. You know, they really came out of left field with some of their questions, and you know, I guess kudos to them, because they were really trying to get at what I do from so many different angles that the questions they asked were not predictable, and really had me kind of thinking on my toes. So yeah, kudos to them for really, you know, probing, I suppose. But I couldn't tell you what answer.
You get me curious. What do they ask you what did they ask you that caught you by surprise?
They were asking me about you know, who my students are, some of those kinds of things. They were asking me about some of my methodology. Those were the obvious things. But then a couple times they asked me things like, you know, had I seen the recent inauguration poet, and what did I think about whether or not she was good, and is there a soul to poetry, and you know, stuff that kind of made me go, oh man, this is heavy stuff, you know.
Yeah, they were really. So had you seen the recent? I can't remember. I watched the inauguration. Seems to me I remember the poem, and it was a pretty good one.
Yeah, Amanda Gorman was
Did you
the name
see
of the
it?
poet. Yeah, and she got a lot of great press for kind of being so wonderful at such a young age. She's a very young poet, and so they were. Yeah. I think that was the angle they were going for. They were saying she was a really young poet, and here I have, you know, young people in my charge, and I think they were trying to get me to think about what I do to maybe produce the next, you know, great thinkers or something like that. But it was a unique way for them to come at that. You know?
I can't remember. We played. She was so good. I remember we played some clips of her readings here on the show because I was so impressed with what she did. It's coming back to me now. If I was in your shoes and they'd asked me about it, I would have went humana. But now that I'm thinking about it, I remember that, and I thought she was extremely good. Do you think poetry has a place in our society today, or are we past that now?
Well, I once again, I think literature of all kinds. You know, obviously fiction is sort of the privileged genre these days. People read more fiction than they do poetry. But in general, I think literature has a place in our society because it does open us up. You know, it forces us to inhabit the minds of other people and to adopt perspectives that we don't adopt without that kind of prompting that the literature gives to us. So I can't imagine that there's anything not valuable about, you know, inhabiting other people's minds and being empathetic in that way.
You teach literature. What do you read?
Right. Well, all kinds of stuff. I mean, you know, I always tell my students, one of the things I make sure to do on every syllabus for classes that I produce is I always make sure to include at least one book I've never read on my syllabus so that I'm reading it right along with the students and kind of having that experience. So that's one way that, you know, based on what class I'm teaching in a particular semester, that's one way that I sort of keep up with my own reading by assigning my students something I haven't yet encountered. Another, if you ask me, I think the guy right now that's the best one going is Colson Whitehead. Recently won National Book Award, and you know, I would recommend him to anybody for sure.
Do you read just to chill out sometimes? I mean, do you just read, I don't know, you know, science fiction or mystery novels, or do you not have time for that kind of stuff?
When I'm reading just for pleasure, it's often more nonfiction. You know, because fiction's my job, right? So, you know, reading fiction sometimes feels like I'm doing research for my next class or something like that. So a lot of times I find myself reading nonfiction when I want to relax. So I read a lot of baseball stuff. I'm a big baseball guy.
Do you feel any greater pressure now being Professor of the Year? I mean, you know, those students are going to say, man, he's Professor of the Year now. We expect good stuff from him.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that till you just said so, but yeah, I guess I better step up the game. The good news is, I guess, that once you win this thing, you can't win it again. So I guess that pressure's off, right? There's no pressure to sort of repeat or something like that. But yeah, I hadn't thought about that with my students.
You can't be the three-time champ. I mean,
that's right.
You've got it, and that's it, I guess. Yeah, okay. I'm just thinking, you know, they're going to be coming. This guy's the professor of the year. He's got to be like super professor. Well, let's go. I'm just thinking he puts a little pressure on you, sir.
Yeah, it might. I'll have to step up my game.
Do you write?
I do. You know, that comes with the job. We all are expected not only to be teachers but to be scholars. And so I actually just about 2 weeks ago sent an article out for peer review, and so we'll see how that goes. But so we do. Naturally, we don't get to write with quite the frequency that professors at bigger universities do because we carry a heavier load in terms of our students in our course. So we teach more courses, we carry more advisees and things like that than a teacher at, say, WVU. But we do it. We're expected to get some of that work done, sure.
Stupid question, because you know and I know that probably the president or other key people from West Liberty are listening, but I'm going to ask the question anyways. Is West Liberty University a good place to work?
It's a wonderful place to work. I have said on multiple occasions that that they're going to have to pry me out of this office. I want to be here for the long haul for sure. The people here are great. That's why if anybody asks me why do I want to stay, why do I love to be at West Liberty, it's the people. And so back to your old comic book friend Jeremy Lawrence. I mean, he has stopped by my office the last couple of days, like so excited. I think he's more excited about my award than I am, and that's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that you get here. You get that family atmosphere here. So yeah, they're going to have to forcibly remove me from this office because I'm in for the long haul.
I love West Liberty. I think it's a great campus. It's a great place to be, particularly if you're in. I don't know enough about the science side of things, but if you're in literature, if you enjoy writing, I long ago left the college arena, but I took a number of writing classes at West Liberty a long time ago. I loved it when we'd get outside in the springtime and do some writing outdoors and analyze novels and stuff outside. It's just a great campus. I love the campus. It's big enough to have a variety of students and professors, small enough to be a real intimate situation. I'm not trying to sell it. I really enjoy it. And I would think someone in your situation would find that particularly enjoyable.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head, that it's kind of just the right size, big enough to have some diversity, to have some variety, small enough that you recognize all the faces when you walk across campus. So it's really perfect in that way.
Yeah. Professor, I appreciate your time this morning. Congratulations on being Professor of the Year. We'll get you a hat or something that you can wear to your classes, so it'll just, or get you like a letter jacket or something, Professor of the Year on there or something. Just because you should strut around campus with something that says Professor of the Year,
Well, yeah, we'll have to work on that, but I could carry the glass vase around maybe.
There you go. Just take it around with you in case. What is that? I am Professor of the Year. I bring my vase with me, and it's a magical vase too. Hey, thanks for joining us this morning. I really appreciate it. Have yourself a great day, and good teaching to you.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Appreciate it. 9 o'clock, Watchdog Morning Show. More fun coming up as we continue on a Thursday.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Biff, you may have seen it. There's a text there that says this concert was canceled this weekend. So I am not going to give those tickets away until I double check on that. I don't know anything about it, but I don't want to be stupid and give them away and discover that there's no. So I'll check when I get off the air and we'll have to give them away tomorrow if it's still on. But if it's canceled, then we'll just forget about it. Okay. What other audio do we have? I have some other audio. Oh, we've got Dr. Oz, right? And is there something else that I sent? I'm trying to go through my notes here. Dr. Oz, and was there some other audio? What did I send you last night? Dr. Oz was yesterday, and I'm going to use that. Didn't I send you some other ones last night? I can't remember now. Ah, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I don't know about the Scrooge thing. I may hold that till tomorrow. I will do the food app. That's actually up on my, that's probably going to be up first. So, okay, good. I forgot about that. Okay, thank you.